Why did Joseph Smith condone polygamy as an ordinance from God in Doctrine and Covenants 132 when the Book of Mormon had already condemned the practice in Jacob 1:15 and Jacob 2:24?
Question 11. Why did Joseph Smith condone polygamy as an ordinance from God in Doctrine and Covenants, section 132, when the Book of Mormon had already condemned the practice in Jacob chapter 1 verse 15 and chapter 2 verse 24? Let us first read the two verses listed in Jacob. In Jacob chapter 1 verse 15 it states, "And now it came to pass that the people of Nephi, under the reign of the second king, began to grow hard in their hearts, and indulge themselves somewhat in wicked practices, such as like unto David of old, desiring many wives and concubines, and also Solomon his son." And then in chapter 2 verse 24 it states, "Behold, David and Solomon truly had many wives and concubines, which thing was abominable before me, saith the Lord." Now the question is claiming that these two verses outright condemn any form of plural marriage. Now, let us turn to section 132 in the Doctrine and Covenants. This is verse 38. And I'm reading just this verse because in Jacob, in both of those verses, it mentions David and Solomon. And verse 38 of section 132 also talks about the situation of those two kings. In this verse we read, "David also received many wives and concubines, and also Solomon, and Moses my servants, and also many others of my servants, from the beginning of creation until this time. And in nothing did they sin, save in those things which they received not of me." So in this, God is condemning anyone who takes plural wives without the proper authority to do so, if they are not given by Him. Now, if we look at just those two verses that were mentioned in Jacob, this does appear to be a contradiction. However, when we read a little farther in Jacob chapter 2, I'd like to actually just read, we read verse 24, let us read 25 through 30. It states, "Wherefore, thus saith the Lord, I have led this people forth out of the land of Jerusalem by the power of mine arm, that I might raise up unto me a righteous branch from the fruit of the loins of Joseph. Wherefore, I, the Lord God, will not suffer that this people shall do like unto them of old. Wherefore, my brethren, hear me, and hearken to the word of the Lord, for there shall not any man among you have save it be one wife, and concubines he shall have none. For I, the Lord God, delight in the chastity of women, and whoredoms are an abomination before me. Thus saith the Lord of hosts. Wherefore this people shall keep my commandments, saith the Lord of hosts, or cursed be the land for their sakes." And then we read here, this is verse 30, this is the important part. "For if I will, saith the Lord of hosts, raise up seed unto me, I will command my people. Otherwise they shall hearken unto these things." In other words, if God chooses to allow men to take plural wives, He'll let us know. He will command that the practice be instated. But until that command is given, the default of God's law is that every man should have one wife. This was the law that the Nephites had been given, the law of one wife. They had been taking plural wives in violation of the law that God had currently established among them, and therefore they were in condemnation. But just as it says in verse 38 of Doctrine and Covenants 132, their only sin was in taking that which God had not given them.